Welcome to the program. You're watching Citizen TV's Town Hall on the Monday Report. We are live for you from the Catholic University, and we're about to get into the discussion on matters succession and, of course, distribution of wealth as well. The topic of inheritance, a sensitive one at times, because some think that talking about it means that you're actually contemplating the death of a person. But a very necessary conversation to have at the same time, bearing in mind there are over 21,575 and more succession cases pending in the courts right now, and a lot of new cases coming up as well. So this is something that's clearly affecting the nation, and it's one that we want to get insight on at this time. My name is Wahiga Mwaura, and we're here together with Mashrima Kapombe. She'll be coming in just a bit, but let me introduce my panel that will help us understand the different perspectives regarding this. I'll start from my far left there. We have Sheikh Ibrahim Letome, who is a Muslim scholar at the Jamia Mosque. Sheikh, welcome to the program. Right next to him, we have Dr. Ken Ouko, a sociologist with the University of Nairobi. Welcome to the program, Daktari. Right, once a provincial commissioner, always a PC, Joseph Kaguthi. Karibu sana to the program.
Good evening, viewers.
Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, Caroline Oduor, council member, FIDA, and an advocate in her own right. Welcome to the program.
Thank you and good evening.
Good evening indeed. And of course, you can talk to us. 2242 is our SMS line. Use the hashtag Monday Report. Keep sending your questions that way, and we'll review and read some of them when we get a chance. Carol, in the spirit of ladies first, I'll come straight to you and get this from you. February, a court ruling asserted that women are qualified to inherit properties of their fathers. They should not be excluded. Now, is this new? Is it being heeded to? Is it being enforced? Just give us a brief perspective on this.
I believe the court was simply reinstating what is the collective decision and will of Kenyans, as well captured in the Constitution that we have had for some time now. So I wouldn't say it's anything new. Of course, putting it in the context of what may be called the customs in different cultures, some of those customs discriminated against women. So in that context, then you would say it's different, but not so different considering how far along we have had our current constitution. And most importantly for me is the fact, because if you look at our constitution today, it is one of the most consultative documents I think we have. And then I believe for me the question is to look beyond that document or the name of it, but rather to say the collective will and aspirations of what Kenyans wanted and the way to go.
What do you think briefly needs to be done to enforce that, to ensure that women across the country know what their rights are and can actually get justice where someone is trying to take what is theirs away from them?
Yeah, we must continue the conversation. Something like this is very crucial. It passes the message across, but I think bottom line is that all entities, persons, public bodies, let's continue the conversation in barazas, our chiefs, administrators, let's keep communicating the message. And I think for me the point to emphasize is not to say those versus these, but rather to say collectively as a community, we are saying we can all jointly partake of this in a very peaceful, calm manner that respects the dignity of each one of us.
Great. That's a conversation we're hoping to have here today on the Town Hall. PC Kaguthi, let me bring you in. Some worrying numbers that we have from those who carry out financial surveys. They are saying, especially worrying in regards to inheritance disputes. 1 in 4 Kenyan households confess they've had some sort of succession dispute at one point or the other. Another worrying statistic that I saw here is 2016-2017, over 10,000 cases of succession. Meanwhile, 21,757 pending cases of succession as well. You have in the past advocated for a return to the old ways. Some papers quoted you as saying, let's go back to polygamy. It sorted a particular issue. Again, you might tell me whether that's true or was that true?
Yes.
Yes. What's your thoughts in terms of inheritance where Kenya finds itself with all these cases in court? Do you feel that going back to the ways of our ancestors would solve some of them?
Too late. We are in a transition from the African traditional systems by every community to one unified one, where is a culture of the English consolidated to English common law, with our lawyers not bringing in adequately of what was ours. So you cannot do anything because the law now is standardized, and you change a little bit, you are taken to court.
What do you feel is missing? You said our lauriers, and you're sitting next to a competent one at that. What do you feel was not carried over from?
When you keep on talking about the English common law, do you really consider what is going on? Here I am, I'm married, I get a second wife to Kem. Am I going to be allowed to inherit a piece of land there because my wife is entitled to that piece there? There is this transition, you need to understand it. Because every community will, for instance, they will come and say, we paid dowry on this lady. You received dowry. You received dowry. She cannot inherit there and inherit here. But we are having a transition period, and that's why you see this confusion. Remember, 21,000 cases or 10,000 cases in 1 year. That means it's a security issue in those families, because as long as it's not settled, then there is no adequate peace. So the sooner...
Sorry for interrupting you, and tell me this briefly. In a nutshell, how did traditional African societies handle inheritance? What were one or two things that...
Inheritance. The wife is married to that clan. Period. She inherits there. She doesn't inherit where we are coming from. But because the law has already changed that, then you can't continue crying.
Where there was a dispute, who had the final say?
Who the elders in that, because every clan has those traditional ways of sorting out disputes. Remember, I have come through a situation where the law, the judiciary, could not do without even the chief. Because, for instance, where it is intestate, then you get the chief writing the list of the children with their ages, and you are being asked that time.
So the chief could identify every member of that
family. And if he doesn't identify, there is a assigned chief, and they are the elders.
You're really amusing, Dr. Ken Ouko, even as you give your point. I'll come back to you to carry on with that. Dr. Ouko, you tell us this, and some other interesting data that we are seeing. 1 in 6 respondents in this survey that we're referencing here say that they did not see the need to leave wealth for their children. Parents are no longer as keen to leave wealth for their children as well. 3 out of 10 say they doubt the children's capacity to adequately manage their wealth. What does that tell you about the kind of society we now find ourselves in?
You know, before I answer you, let me first tell you why I was smiling. In sociology, one of the things we say is that the family must be the most apolitical and the most independent of the institutions. As soon as you bring the law into family, that's the end of that family. Yeah, so a lot of times when you talk about marriage, when you talk about children, when you talk about
everybody agrees with that, but
the composition, the thing that works for family is mutual and duplicity, that we agree on this as a family, and the elders will come in and say we agree on it like this. The minute you say, oh, bring the Kadis in and bring everybody in, we have a problem. But back to what you're asking, the family is evolving more than any other institution in society. The society is made up of 5 institutions, but the most dynamic of them is the family. It evolves faster than the markets, it evolves faster than the political, faster than the school. And the minute that evolution takes place, the people being released from the family in the name of the children are therefore, evolving with that unit. And they're saying, okay, you're my parent, but things have changed, so I can make my decisions, I can go my way, and I'll inform you. That at least they do. But long ago, we would ask for permission, we would seek audience with the family, we would seek audience with the grandmother and say, oh, I need to tell this to dad, this is what I'm doing. That doesn't happen anymore. So the fathers and the mothers today are also saying, okay, if that's it, then let's also do things our way. And that's why the modern parent is appearing to be more egalitarian than the traditional parent who was very totalitarian. He used to tell his children, come here. Then they sit, have a discussion, and that is how it's going to be.
The modern parent is forced to be democratic.
He has to be, yes, very egalitarian.
To the views of the children.
He has to listen to them. I mean, if you joke, they'll take you to FIDA.
System. Okay, let me bring in Sheikh here just to give us some perspective in this. You've heard about English common law, which many lawyers say is the basis of the law we now follow in Kenya. You've heard about a call to look back at traditional African customs and how they work. Tell us about the Islamic faith and how it views matters of inheritance. Where are the differences from some of these others?
I think I need the lawyers know here that we have chapter 160 of the laws of Kenya, which is the law of succession, and then there is an exemption clause for the Muslims. For those who are Muslims, then the Islamic law of inheritance applies. And for us, the Islamic law of inheritance is part and parcel of our belief. So it's part of the belief system. You cannot separate it from the belief. And the belief is that all wealth belongs to God or Allah, and you're given some control of your wealth when you're still alive. But the moment you die, you have no control over your wealth. Actually, the wealth now is supposed to devolve to the heirs. And the division is already done.
So it's almost automatic, whether you had a will or not.
Whether I have a will or not. And as I told you, a will is more of disclosure and not for distribution. And that's why you'll find in court, if somebody went there with a will, I'll just need to look for one thing. Is it in conformity with what is in the Quran? If it is not, then it is null and void. And the Constitution recognizes that.
Okay.
Chapter 160 of the laws of Kenya also recognizes that. So distribution is already done. I already know if my wife, okay, let me give it as an example because she might be watching.
You're giving us a personal example.
If I die tonight, my wife has an eighth, and my children know what to get. My brothers know what to get. So it is automatic. And then if there is a dependent who is not entitled to inherit, let's say a child that I've been bringing up and the child is not entitled to inherit, then within the limit of 1/3, I can give out. If I want to give out also charity, I can put it down on paper that within the limit of 1/3, I can give that as charity and not beyond that.
Okay.
So everything is already
It actually sounds quite structured. Now that you've understood some of the perspective of our panelists here today, let's get the views of the audience. Lots of questions that they want to ask as well, and Mashirima will help us to do that. Mashirima.
Na Waihiga, maswali ni mengi, lakini nataka tu kuendelea kutoka kwa huo mkondo ambao mmeanza nao kuhusiana na sheria za Kenya pamoja na yale masuala ya kitamaduni. Oduor Sifuna atauliza swali lake.
Oh, thank you. I think Mashirima will code switch very quickly because of Swahili English. Yeah, I have listened to the sentiments of the FIDA, the beautiful madam from FIDA, Njoya, who has walked this journey, and Letome as a good sociology lecturer. My question is very, very important, and you can see as FIDA, basically you have inclined towards feministic protection. In fact, when I look at FIDA in its context, Federation of Women, it's a whole conglomeration that supports women. My friend was telling me to form maendeleo ya wanawake and maendeleo ya naume, mawe. The question is very clear. At what time can we harmonize our customary law, our traditions, so that Njoya is also comfortable as I am, so that as we talk on matters legal, we can have a harmonious and peaceful resolution of our issues pertaining inheritance? Because the court can decide, but if it is not amicably resolved, the conflict will still escalate. What Njoya has just put it. Thank you.
Thank you, but I think you're referring to Kaguthi and not Njoya.
Very many.
That mistake happens. Okay, Carol, yes. Come in, and then Kaguthi, hopefully you can also briefly come in on this. Go ahead.
Okay. Allow me to first just make a few responses on a lot that has been said, yeah, as I get back to that question. Okay. One, I think it is wrong or it's fallacious of us to imagine that the law drops from somewhere and comes on us, bearing upon us, you know. There's a process to it, and it is we Kenyans who get involved in that process, yeah. Be it through parliamentary process, be it a referendum, it is we. So it carries, and it's a reflection of what we want as a people. So I think it misguides the discussion to imagine that law is this monster somewhere that comes on us and disappears on us.
That is what Kaguthi feels.
Yes, that is not true. And then even juxtaposing the whole issue of English law position, so to speak, if you look back even to the history of the Law of Succession Act, as it was coming in place early in the 70s, it was the whole essence of just carrying what we as Kenyans understand to be our customary way of applying the law in as far as succession is concerned. And the essence of it was to codify it. Of course, it had a few of its challenges.
Using interesting legal terms.
Yes.
So basically, public participation happened.
Yes, yes.
Communities were allowed to give their views to put that law together, is what you're saying in a nutshell.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
And also, secondly, to correct that, because it's being portrayed that court applied the law in seclusion of other stakeholders. Today, if you're going to filing a matter relating to intestate succession, one of the things that the court will ask for is a letter from the chief. because they believe and know that the reality of it is that that chief knows who is a spouse of who is a child of who.
Okay.
You know, so it's a multi-sectoral approach, and the law allows it. Our constitution provides for alternative dispute resolution, traditional means of resolving dispute. It's all in there. And the problem is not with the law. Let's face ourselves and look at each other. Who is the problem
with?
It's us who seek to apply the law. We either deliberately fail to interpret it the way it should be interpreted or appreciate it for what it should be.
Okay, I want to direct you to sorry for interrupting, to the question that he asked. He basically wants to know, can further harmonization happen?
Yes, it can happen. I say it can, and it is even better that it should happen. But of course, we must know the boundaries, because then the Constitution exalts us to say, to the extent that it does not contradict what is in the Constitution. The document is gracious enough to say we are at liberty to apply it. And it's good, it will give direction, because the scenario that has now arisen is that we are having a lot of cases because people have to keep going back for interpretation because there's no codified standard or principle that can guide and be an easy point of reference.
Okay, and that's where we find ourselves. Come in.
The problem with lawyers is that I think they are taught in school how to defend. so when you talk about the law dropping out of nowhere and coming onto the family, the simple question that I think anybody else like him would ask is, how come there are so many cases now and not before? The family was always there as a unit, and the family has always existed. Everything against the family has always, hit it. But today, any little thing, we're in court, which never used to happen before.
Okay, I want us to get it. Hang on. Let's get another question, and then I'll come back to you, Carol.
Okay.
Let's get and PC, I know you also needed to come in.
It seems there's a lot of reaction kutoka hapa mbele. Wacha tupatie nafasi kwanza.
Asante sana. Thank you very much. My name is David Ole Conchela, and I'll have one question. And one, this is a very important topic we are discussing as a country. And let's take it very seriously, because as we all know, the majority of Kenyans are still in the rural areas, not in urban centers. So if we discuss about what law we enacted when, as a country, it is just within the urban setup. I'm telling you, in the rural areas, they will not tell you there is a law which was enacted in 2014 for inheritance. There is a law which was enacted at that particular time for inheritance. All what they know.
They have a different system.
They have a different system. All right? So that is why we are ending most of this thing in court. Because when you go to a rural setup, they have their own system of dividing what is supposed to be inherited. Like our brother there, the Muslim, have just said they have a clear-cut way the Muslims share. If you come to Maasai, I'm a Maasai, in my own tradition, we have our own system, which is very clear.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. So, I want to direct you to your question now.
Yes. So, when are we going to do what my brother have just asked, to harmonize the enacted laws and the cultural or traditional laws?
Okay.
Because unless we do that, there'll still be a serious issue.
Fair enough. Thank you for that question. PC, come in.
For me, I'm pursuing the same. We have a lot of wealth on traditional way of pursuing justice. For me, the community I come from, we have Kihoto and Ma, the truth and then the arguments supporting that. In the rural areas, those elders, they know the respect, the semblance of respect for elders in my community and other communities. But unfortunately, we are dominated by traditions of the English converted to English common law, and it has been pushed through us through.
Are there good aspects of the traditions of the English that So for you, what's that balance? Because you almost feel like you're saying, throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Not wholly. You cannot throw it.
Okay.
After all, we have already adapted the traditions of the English already. So what they are asking is, lawyers, our lawyers, constitutional lawyers, please be sympathetic to the natives of this country. They had a lot of sense of direction, of justice. And please, don't swallow everything just listen to him talking. When they started saying by Cecil Rhodes, the guy who introduced the Rhodesia and so forth, he said, we replace those primitive cultures, languages, and religions. Then they did it. This colonization still continues. Feminism came and added itself on top, and the rural areas, they require respect because there are still cultural things that they are doing, including education.
Okay.
So we are asking our lawyers, please do not just keep on swallowing, check on what else we have and we move.
Thank you. I'll give the only lawyer on the panel a chance to respond after the break, but Mashirima, you have some words for us?
Na maswali bado ni mengi, kuna mengi ambayo yanahusiana na hilo swala. Kuna mmoja atakuwa anauliza swali lake kuhusiana na haswa wale ambao wanaonekana kuwa wanakasirishwa wakati ambapo masuala ya urithi yanazungumziwa kwa upande wa kitamaduni, sio upande wa kisheria. Tukirejea.